Hey everyone, welcome back to NodeRun. If you're not yet familiar with NodeRun.com, it's our online IDE and runtime environment for Node.js, and it makes you, as a full-stack developer, 10 times more productive. In our last couple of videos, we built a to-do list application, and in this video, I want to show you a couple of tips and tricks that will enhance the application. Now, these tips and tricks came from me observing other developers try to follow along in building the to-do list app. They had some ideas, and I want to share those with you during this video. The first tip is the simplest one of them all, and it is to use placeholders. Whenever I work with a screen that's starting to become cluttered, one way to eliminate that clutter is to start removing the labels and start integrating them as placeholders. Placeholders are simply little hints or tips that are right within the input box. So let's go ahead and implement that. So I'm going to remove this label, just select remove, and resize the box. And now I'm going to add the placeholder. Now a placeholder is simply an HTML attribute, and all of the HTML attributes and a lot more are actually represented in the properties box. So let's search for placeholder, and we'll type in new item right into the placeholder. So let's go ahead and click save. We'll launch the application, and now you can see that the placeholder has been implemented. This next tip solves a pretty serious problem within our application. Let's take a look at this. If I type in test and then hit the enter key, you can see that the item is not added to the list, but it's pretty apparent that we did communicate back to the server because we saw the little animation in the corner. So what's happening here? Well, let's take a look at the code. Whenever a screen is executed, this process is paused, waiting for the user to reply. When the user hits the enter key, the process continues, but the add flag, this is the field that is bound to the response property of the add button, does not get set to true. So what are some ways that we can fix this? Let's take a look. Our first option is to simply disable the enter key. If you go to the screen properties and find the property disable enter key, you can simply set it to true, and that's all that it takes to disable the enter key. But I don't know if this is the best solution in this particular case. So let's remove this. And let's look at some other options. What if when you hit the enter key, the item is actually added? Well, one way to approach it is to go to the text box, find the on key events. So let's say on key down. And here you can trap the enter key. So you can use something like event.key or event.keycode to trap the actual enter key. Now this is probably too much work for what we're trying to accomplish, because there's a simpler way. We can simply assign a shortcut key to the add button. So let's find the property shortcut key, and we'll select enter. All right, let's go ahead and save, launch the application. And so now, when I type in an item and hit the enter key, the add flag is automatically triggered and the item is added to the list. All right, now let's talk about adding client-side validation and making a value required. Of course, you can always do this by adding some custom JavaScript code. And if you wanted to do it that way, you would find the onSubmit property and put the code in there. But there is an easier way. One of the things that you can do is select the text box and find the validation section. So I'm going to type in +valid, and that brings up the validation section. And here we have a number of options for setting up validations. And the thing that we're looking for here is just to set required to true. There's a few other properties that we could set. For example, we could set the error message location or the CSS class so that the error message appears a little differently. But those are optional at this point. Now, this is enough to make the value required, but there's one caveat here. We don't really want the validation to be triggered every single time. So when we click the add button, we certainly want the validation to be triggered. But when we click the remove button, we want the message to be sent to the server without any validation. To do this, I'm going to select the remove button, find the bypass validation property, and set it to true. So let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to launch the application. And let's go ahead and click add, and you can see that I'm unable to add the item until I start typing into the box. So let's put in new item, click add, and let's wipe this out again. and you can see that I can't add, but I should still be able to click remove. So I'm able to remove. That's what we're looking for. Our final tip relates to clearing out the text box when we click the add button. As you can see, by default, the item remains in the box. As with anything, there are different ways to approach this. We can either do this on the client side or on the server side. For the client side approach, you would probably find the onload method and put in some JavaScript in there to clear out the box. But I think the server side approach makes better sense here. It's a matter of simply putting new item equals empty string right before they execute the screen. Let's give this a try. Perfect. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a NodeRun space that you'd like us to feature, or just an idea for the next NodeRun video that you'd like us to create, simply comment below with your idea or a link to the NodeRun space.